Hey guys, I hope we're all doing well. Thanks for joining me again on this Saturday morning. If you haven't been here before, my name's Peter, you're watching Thailand Bound, and today I'm going to be reading out 3 viewers' stories, true stories that have been sent into my channel to read out to you. Now, currently, right outside my window, there's a horrendous thunderstorm, thunder and lightning going on, very, very loud cracks of thunder, but I have got a good microphone, so I'm hoping it doesn't pick it up. But if you hear any sort of funny background noises, that's what it is. Right, 3 stories for you. As I said, I've got 2 brand new stories, and the third one is a rerun from about 2021. I'm just letting you know because some guys don't like to hear a story a second time, whereas newer subscribers, they enjoy the stories, and even some guys who've heard them before on a second time round. Now, people ask me, how come you have to read out repeat stories sometimes? The simple fact of the matter is there are a lot of channels out there now, and my channel is, I'll put it quite nicely, I don't read out, I don't use AI, okay? I don't use chat GPT. Any stories that come in, they're genuine, so it means occasionally I do run out. Some channels never run out, so you make your own mind up, okay? Right, let's get into the first of 3 stories this morning.
สวัสดีค่ะ
This story took place a few years ago after 6 or 7 trips to Thailand, the first 3 to Phuket and the 3rd and 4th to Pattaya. I mainly hung around and stayed around the Soi Buakhao and LK metro area, but moved around most of Pattaya during my nights out. I spent some time at Billabong and had become friendly with a few of the bar girls, spent some time with a few of them. They all knew I was a helicopter man, all have long since moved on by this stage. One of those I'm still occasionally in contact with, and they both seem to be happily married and settled down somewhere abroad. One night I had been down to Walking Street and had a lot of fun enjoying the gogo bars, shows and lots of drinks with many nice ladies. I had consistently made the decision before going out to spend my daily entertainment budget on drinks, fun, shows and not pick up a lady. At the end of the night, at about 3 or 4 a.m, I caught a BART bus back to Soi Diana, and I stumbled down and decided to go into Boomerang Bar for one last drink before heading back to my hotel on Soi Boomerang. I think it was called Boomerang Hotel. Great big rooms, and at that time, quite a little Soi. I believe now it is much busier with a few go-go's in it, and the hotel had been converted over to a gentleman's club. Close enough to walk to get the BART bus everywhere. Billabong was pretty quiet with barely anybody in there. I ended up sitting on one corner chatting to an older waitress, not unattractive, at least in my state at the time, and she was putting the moves on me. I was firmly not interested and told her so, wavered a little when she said she would come long time for 500 baht, no bar fine, as it was so late. I wavered a little bit but decided against it and offered her an extra ladies' drink instead. Shortly later, she started arguing with me. The Mama-san in Thai, I knew the Mama-san a little, and she was friends with the ladies I had bar fines in there before, and suspect she may have been trying to warn off the girl. Momo was the girl's name. It started to get very heated with the girls each throwing things, so in spite of my better judgment, I quickly paid the bill and dragged Momo out of the bar. We went to the Family Mart at the end of Soi Buakhao, end of LK Metro. Momo tried it on, buying a bunch of food, beer and snacks, etc. As it did not amount to much money, I let it go. After about 20 minutes, when we got to the cashier, despite 4 of them being stood there, none of them wanted to serve us. The one that was leaning on the till did not even look up from her phone for about 5 minutes. I could see Momo getting more and more angry, and she eventually said something in Thai. The girl's response seemed very rude, but I could not understand it. Momo went to jump over the counter, and I had to pull her back down and basically carry her out of the convenience store. She had thrown the bag of stuff at the teller, including smashing the large bottle of beer, so we now have nothing. I got her to calm down a little and head down the road. We still needed supplies for the night and planned the next day just hanging out in the room. So we went into the next Family Mart, or maybe it was a 7-Eleven, at the corner of Soi Lenki. Again, 10 minutes of shopping and we got to the counter. One of the girls said something to that other girl, pointed at me, then Momo, and sniggered. I could see Momo was about to charge this one too, and wrestled her out the door and told her to stay there, and went back in and paid for the stuff. We started to head back to my hotel. She was very angry and yelling and had me wondering what the hell I was doing. After we got back about halfway, and as I was ready to tell her to take a hike, she was still very angry with both girls, but very thankful for me for taking care of her and stopping her from getting into trouble. Now, starting to quieten down, she changed into another person completely, affectionate and complimentary. I did still think about dumping her, as maybe she was more trouble than she was worth. I hung on in there. Once we got back to the room, she got excited a bit and was ranting again, making me wonder what I was in for. When she went to the shower, I made sure the balcony door and windows were locked. The room has a kitchen, so I put the sharp knives in the safe. She came out, we had some food and a couple of drinks. We then headed to bed. As it turned out, we had a fantastic night of aerobics, which surprised me as there were also a lot of affection coming from her side. One thing I didn't mention is that she was quite a bit older than a lot of the girls that work in the bar, but a plus side of that is they are often very experienced in the bedroom department, and it showed on this night. It turned out that she was quite a smart girl, because when she was looking around the kitchen in the morning, she noticed there were no knives. I admitted that I was a little panicked by her behaviour in this 7-Eleven and had locked them all away in the safe. Now, you might not believe this, but this is what truly happened. Her next words were, with a cheeky grin, "Don't worry, I've got my own." She then produced a knife which must have been 20 centimetres long. She gives a little chuckle and put it back in her bag. She said, "That's just for protection. There's some crazy people come here." I visited Pattaya about 6 times after this trip, and surprisingly, we got on really well because she was a little older and I didn't leave her stranded at the 7-Eleven. I think deep down she appreciated that, and she treated me very kindly on every trip. After that, I never again experienced that crazy night with her. She was always very decently behaved. By the way, her nickname, Momo, means crazy. This might not be the most exciting story in the world, but I thought I would share it with you, your viewers, because it just goes to show you go to Pattaya for a quick holiday, a good time to Pattaya, and have a holiday girlfriend or two. You never know what you'll end up with in your room. So it's always better to err on the side of caution. Thanks for reading this out, and I hope you enjoyed this story. By the way, guys, if you're new to this channel and you enjoy these real stories from Thailand, don't forget to subscribe, as I release these story videos every Saturday. So this is how it goes in Pattaya. You never know who you're meeting. They always say you can't judge a book by the cover. And this girl, what she had in her handbag, that would have terrified me enough to say, that's it. See you again. Right. Okay. Let's jump into the second of third. This is a fairly long story. Hi, Peter. I've heard over and over again about how people, mostly men who travel to Thailand, the land of smiles, searching for love, readily fall into the honeymoon trap that is openly waiting for them in almost every entertainment venue. Of course, this would never happen to me. I've watched many Thailand-bound videos and always marvelled at how the women of Thailand manipulated men to increase their own and their family's bank balance. I knew that this could never happen to me, as I had read all about the tactics they use to extract funds from the unwary. Don't get me wrong, I'm not judging anyone, as I know that these mostly very young women that work in the bar send a large portion of the money they earn back to their families to pay for the needs and wants of their families. I am just saying that I felt like I was bulletproof when it came to being manipulated by anyone. But of course, there is no fool like an old fool. I myself am married, but we have come to the point where we lead separate lives. My wife and I are more like best friends. As for the last 10 years, we have not slept together in the same room. I guess it is companionship relationship as opposed to a physical one. It suits us both, I believe. I am almost 70, she is in her mid-60s. I'm not looking to move on, and neither is she. We have worked each other out and live a reasonably comfortable lifestyle, although sometimes I wonder what it would be like to be madly, passionately in love with a woman. She looks after me and I look after her. However, she likes nothing more than to stay home and potter around in the garden or chat on the phone to her girlfriends or sisters back in Thailand, whereas I love to have adventures, go camping, play golf, race go-karts, ride my motorcycle and party with my friends at least once a month. Recently, I travelled to Thailand with a group of buddies for a golf tour, which for me was a dream trip of a lifetime. Just four retired men without their wives or partners, basing themselves in Pattaya to play golf at the luxurious courses not far from the tourist Mecca. We based ourselves in a hotel on the second road near Soi 8. All of us are very experienced as far as travelling to Thailand, as we have all been travelling there for roughly 15 years each. The other guys have children with their Thai wives who are all much younger than themselves, whereas I do not, as my wife and I have 5 children between us from former marriages, and we were both around 50 years of age when we met. I like to play pool and drink a couple of beers at a bar at the end of Soi 8 when in Pattaya, as I know the ladies by name and I have been going there for about 10 years off and on. They know that I'm not there for any aerobics. They have met my wife several times. I just like someone to play pool with. Years ago, I used to get women hinting about bar fines, but they no longer do that to me. Plus, some of them are almost as old as me, and I'm dangerously close to 70. Plus, I love to go to the go-karts down near the pier. My wife always says to me that I am about 30 years older than some and 40 years older than most of the people that race at Easy Kart, but I don't care. I will do it for as long as I can. I usually get in the top 3 drivers for the day based on lap times. So about 2 weeks ago, my golfing buddies and I arrived in Pattaya late Thursday evening with a free day ahead of us on Friday. We settled in for the night as we had delayed flights, missed our transfer in Singapore and ended up getting to Pattaya about 3 hours later than expected. After breakfast the next morning, we spent some time around the hotel pool discussing what we would do for the day ahead of us. We all agreed to get a leg massage at one of the parlours opposite the hotel and then spend some time at the beach. Later that night, we went out for dinner and then headed for Soi 8. The bar was full, so we tried to think of somewhere else to go. Plus, when my buddies saw the age of the ladies in there, they probably thought we could do better. Dave, the oldest amongst us, suggested that we try Soi 6, as we heard it was very popular. I had never been there, so I thought it would be fun to find out what it was like. You might think Soi 8 and Soi 6 are close together, but they're not. To get there, we caught a songtao on Beach Road, which took about 25 minutes to get to Soi 6, as it had to travel in an anti-clockwise direction through the horrendous traffic on Beach Road and Second Road. When we eventually arrived, we happened off the songtao and paid our fares. A group 4 wide, we started to walk down Soi 6 towards the beach, but we soon realised that we would have to walk single file as the bar girls only left a small space to walk between them as they lined the street from the bars on both sides of the Soi. I guess people that have been to Soi 6 would know exactly what I'm talking about. But if you haven't been there, you will never imagine what it is like in your wildest dreams. Scores of beautiful young women in multitudes of colourful and very brief costumes, which left very little to the imagination. I guess there must be 50 or more bars from one end of the Soi to the other, and hundreds of ladies and some ladyboys. As it happened, I was dragged into one bar by a gorgeous lady whilst my friends kept walking. I was behind them, so didn't notice that I had been abducted. After having one drink with this beautiful bar girl, I checked my phone to see that they had all stopped in a bar further up Soi 6. I managed to find my way to that bar and was amazed to see that it was full of perhaps the most gorgeous ladies in the whole of the Soi. A young woman named Tan quickly held my wrist and pulled me in next to my buddies. She asked what I would like to drink and looked at me with blue eyes. She wore contact lenses that seemed to draw me into her inner self. I asked her for a beer and suggested that she should get herself a drink on me. My buddies were already surrounded by gorgeous girls, and it wasn't long before we were sinking shots and thoroughly enjoying ourselves. Tan spoke the best English, and she was quite often translating for the other girls who were having difficulty with our Australian accents and use of slang as beauty bonza mate and you ripper. We stayed at the bar very late. My friends left before me because I found I could not tear myself away from Tan. She had a cute face, was 27 years old, had a sweet voice and a nice body. What more would you call a 10, but more than enough for me, as I am a pretty average looking old guy. She said to me, "Don't talk about boom boom or I will leave you." I wasn't actually thinking about aerobics, I just was enjoying her company, believe it or not. Around 2 a.m., after many gin and tonics, Tan said the bar would close soon, so I paid my bill of 4,500 baht and gave a 500 baht tip to her. I walked down to the beach and caught a motorbike taxi back to the hotel. Inside, I was buzzing to think that a gorgeous young woman would actually want to spend time with an old guy like me. Of course, I knew it was her job and she was making money, but she made me feel so special and attractive that I fooled myself into believing that she actually liked me and just maybe there was life in this old dog yet. The next morning, we had a 11 a.m. tee off time. The bus picked us up around 10 a.m. and we had a pleasant journey to the golf course. I had stipulated that we wanted a female driver because I have had one too many experiences with local men driving those white Toyota vans at breakneck speed as had my mates. We didn't want to arrive at the golf course stressed out and angry. Benja at Gulf Asian assured me that she would provide a careful driver for us, and it proved to be the case. The temperature was a perfect 32 degrees and the humidity was fine for me, but some of my friends were sweating profusely. It may have had something to do with the amount of Singer beers we consumed the night before. As I had spent a great deal of time in the Kimberley in the northwestern Australia where it was very high humidity, I guess I was more acclimatized to that type of weather. We were each provided with a female caddy to drive us around the golf course and advise us on how to get the lowest score on each hole. All of the caddies turned out to be great fun and made our day thoroughly enjoyable. We actually played some pretty good golf as the course was not difficult and the caddies told us which line to putt the greens. It was interesting to note that our caddies were all mature ladies around 50 years older, while the Japanese and Korean golfers in front and behind us had caddies in their 20s and 30s, most of whom were quite tall, had slender figures and wore tight short skirts. That afternoon we returned to the hotel at about 5:30 p.m. We were a little tired, but not enough to keep us indoors. After a shower and a power nap, I was ready to go out for the evening. The four of us decided to find a nice restaurant along the beach, and we settled on an Italian restaurant which coincidentally was situated not far from, you guessed it, Soy 6. The food was of a high standard and we enjoyed it as we people watched along the beach road. The bill was quite reasonable and the service was excellent. We had no idea which bar to go to, so we headed once again to Bender's. I looked and saw Tan once again. She seemed shocked to see me, so I was unsure what she was actually thinking. However, the girl soon grabbed us by our arms and ushered us into the bar. Tan came to me and without asking bought me my usual beer and her vodka lime and soda. The night progressed much the same as it had previous, with lots of drinks and shots flowing and bills growing larger by the minute. Once again, the two older members of the group left around 1 a.m. and myself and Pete, who is 55 years old, stayed with Tan and her friend Som. Tan suggested to me that we should go to Walking Street later with her girlfriend after the bar closed, so we did that after we had settled a very large bill, which was no big deal as we thought it was so much fun. We went to a few nightclubs and bars in Walking Street, drinking, singing and dancing. It was the most fun I had for years and years. At my age, I'm usually in bed by 10 p.m, but here I was going at 3 a.m. I am sure that I was running on pure adrenaline at this stage. Around 3:30, Tan said that she would come back to my hotel if I wanted her to. I was fairly Brams and list, as my father used to say, in other words, quite drunk. I agreed for her to come back to the room. We caught a motorbike taxi to the hotel, a 5-minute ride which cost 100 baht. I had never done this type of thing before, so I was not 100% sure of what was going to happen, although I had an idea there would be some aerobics involved, as I have listened to many Thailand-bound videos. Once up in the room, I told Tan that I would have a shower first. She looked a bit embarrassed, so I didn't ask her to join me. I made sure I was thoroughly clean and smelling fresh as possible, given the amount of alcohol I had consumed. I put on a bathrobe and casually walked into the bedroom, only to find Tan fast asleep and mostly hidden under the blanket. I sort of felt relieved as I had not been with another woman for roughly 10 years. I think we both slept soundly. The next morning at around 7 a.m., I woke next to this beautiful lady fast asleep in my bed. She must have sensed I was awake and she reached down for my undercarriage, which woke up very quickly. We enjoyed a session of aerobics, which I must admit was a little bit awkward as I did not know what she really enjoyed and I was too excited, if you get my drift. Afterwards, she had a shower, got dressed and started walking to the door with her head down as if she was really tired. She did not ask for money, but I gave her 2,000 baht as that was all that was in my wallet. I walked her to the lift and said goodbye. Early in the morning, we went to play golf as per our plan. We had good fun because we're always joking and laughing, but to be honest, the golf was not so good. The rest of the day was spent with my buddies around the pool, eating at a nearby Thai restaurant and then deciding what to do next. As I had a Thai friend who I wanted to meet, I suggested that we meet up with her for a few beers at around 8 p.m, which we did. It was a pleasant enough time, but my mind was focusing on Tan in Soy 6, not the conversation on hand. At around 9:30 p.m, I said goodbye to my Thai friend and suggested to the others that we try Soy 6 again, and everyone agreed. But this time we walked along Beach Road enjoying the night air as it was unusually cool for Pattaya at this time of year. We once again went to the same bar and Tam was waiting there, but she looked not happy with me. She asked why I was so late and I told her that I didn't know that I was meant to come earlier. She told me that she had just turned down another man because of me. I actually saw the guy walking out of the bar with a disgusted look upon his face. Well, the evening progressed as per normal. Lots of drinks and a huge bill at the end of the night. My mate actually had to borrow money from me as his bill was worse than mine. Tan asked if she could come back to my hotel and I immediately agreed. So we caught a motorbike taxi, as did my friends with their women of choice. As you may have guessed by now, I couldn't resist the charms of Tan. She was witty, cute and very intelligent, but most of all, she was keen on me. There were no misgivings this time and I can honestly say I had the most wonderful session of aerobics for many a long year. Yes, I was happy and was without realising it, falling into a trap by fooling myself. I guess I wanted to know how these Thai bar girls are so good at manipulation and I surely was finding out, but I was unable to resist at the same time. The next day the same thing happened. I met with Tan again. We went to Walking Street, ate some food and then went back to my hotel for fun and games. So I had broken the 3-day rule, but I couldn't stop myself from seeing Tan as much as I possibly could for the rest of the short holiday. I was thinking about her every waking moment, even when I was supposed to be playing golf. Soon our holiday came to an end and we had to return to Australia. Over the next 5 months, I kept in touch with Tan via WhatsApp and on several occasions I sent her 5,000 baht to help with expenses. In total, I sent her about $1,000. In August, I went back to Bangkok to see her. I had the most wonderful time of my life, eating and sleeping together, as well as getting massages during the day. During the massage, Tan, who is 27 but looks younger, was teased by the massage lady who said, "Your boyfriend looks very old." Tan quickly replied, "Yes, he is old, but he has lots of power." Over that week, we had a great time. But on the day I had to leave, she wanted me to buy her a gold ring, which basically took the last of my money. I was so in love by this time that I could not resist her, and so we went to a jewellery shop to buy the ring. I then fully understand why the 3-day rule should not be broken, and I knew then how so many men have fallen into this trap woven by the bar girls of Thailand. Later on, we travelled to the airport and found a place to get a meal, and to my surprise, Tam became very serious and asked me to listen carefully to her. She said that she loved me, but it was too late for us. She wanted to get married and have children by the time she was 30 years old, and she could not do that with me as I was already too old. She also told me that she would meet with a single man from England in September and she was hoping he would marry her. Tam was being brutally honest with me. It was tough for me to take. I felt dying for a moment, but then I realised she was doing the right thing by me. She was cutting me off from her in a hard but in the best way possible. No lies, just a quick, sharp cut. We said our goodbyes, then I headed off through customs. To be honest, it was all a bit of a blur for me, as I was devastated, but at the same time I was grateful to Tan for being honest with me. Once back in Australia, I was depressed for about a week or so, but have begun to bounce back lately by trying to take some positive from the experience with a Thai bargo. So I guess if I was to summarize this experience, I would say that I have found out firsthand how easy it is for anyone to be manipulated by the bargos of Thailand. But you know, I would do it all again because of the sheer joy I experienced when I was with Tan. She made me feel 40 years younger. I still have very strong feelings for her, and if she asked me to go and see her again, I would think very seriously about it. The saying goes, there's no fool like an old fool, and I guess that's true. But to be honest, I don't care what people think anymore. So I can, honestly, I can feel where he's coming from. And one of the most comments that get left on any of these story videos, whenever I read out these stories and I release them, there's always lots of follow-up comments. And one of the most comments I receive on these kind of videos is, "What a stupid guy! How could somebody fall in love with a bargo? What a simp! Oh, another one bites the dust," and all this kind of thing. And these are guys, I'm guessing, maybe they haven't been to Thailand, or maybe they're, I don't know, maybe they follow the 3-day rule. But the thing is with these girls, they are very good at what they do. They're very manipulative and they know what to say. They're very experienced and it's very easy. I've seen guys who are very clever, run businesses back in the UK, have 30, 40 staff, and they get caught by these girls because, as I say, they're very good at what they do. So I think it's better when it happens to somebody, maybe try not to judge them because it could happen to anybody, right? Okay, let's... And I'm not trying to be a white knight, by the way. I'm just stating it as it is. Right, let's jump into our third and final story today. And as I said, this is a reread. So for all the guys who, I get one or two whiners who complain because I've read a story out before. But it is a good story, and I wouldn't read it out again if it was, not a very good one. I do pick out the better ones. All right, so here's our third and final story of the day. This story starts in the late 90s whilst I was still at school. We had a neighbour who was an interesting man in the sense that he liked his cars and had his own small engineering workshop. Perhaps something of an introvert, but quite friendly, and he lived alone. Then out of the blue, one day we had an invite to a wedding reception held at his house. At the time, we didn't realise he had even a partner. Anyway, as it turned out, it was a lady he had met on holiday in Thailand. So here we all were after the wedding at his house, sat across the room from a whole family, flown over for the wedding. Not able in the slightest to communicate with each other, we just exchanged smiles and nods. As a 14-year-old schoolboy, I really struggled to understand the appeal and logic to all of this and found it all quite bizarre that somebody would marry someone from halfway across the world who didn't speak a word of English. Nonetheless, they seemed happy enough, and that was that. Moving forward a few years, and now in my early 20s, I was invited round to discuss a potential job at his company. We were sat in the dining room and his wife Lek appeared at the door holding a small white dog. She asked if we would like a drink and then came back with 2 Chiang beers, placing them on little paper napkins. It seemed as if she was a paid member of staff who lived in the house and not a wife. I had never seen anyone act in this way before. Then again later on, once the drinks had finished, she reappeared, hovering around the door, asking if we'd finished and could she bring us another couple of beers. I suppose it was just the way she acted that caught my attention. Fast forward a few years still, and now aged around 30, I was invited to a goodbye barbecue as they had both now reached retirement age and had decided to sell where they were to move somewhere up north but remain in the UK. I suppose this is a day that really got my mind thinking about what the whole fascination was with Thailand and Thai women. I was probably first to the barbecue that day and sat in the garden. You could see down the driveway as each of the other guests arrived. I quickly saw a pattern emerge as each of the guests had one thing in common. Their wife was from Thailand. With everybody there and in good spirits with the beer flowing, I was given a hard and fast education as to all things Thailand. They were very honest about their own personal stories and experiences, from one man meeting his wife while on his own honeymoon 20 years ago, to another going away on a business and reminiscing how he had a girl under each arm watching the TV in the sunshine, saying he never wanted it to end. I was told that if I ever went to Thailand, don't do what he did and marry a girl from a bar. I wrongly assumed they meant the profession was not good enough in their eyes, like a barmaid in the UK. So I argued that it didn't matter what job they had, as long as people respected each other. They had to somehow explain what the bar girls did for money. Not easy when all their wives were looking over. All in all, it was a brilliant day, and to see all those absolutely stunning women cooking up fantastic food and special drinks was great. These girls were really entertaining and funny. I suppose the realization then came as to why a trip halfway around the world and the effort was worth it. From what I had seen on that day, at least, it only took me 15 or so years to work it out. I've never been to Thailand, but intended to go, so this year in October. Unfortunately, very recently, my partner and I have separated, and she feels taking the children on my own would be unsafe on a holiday. Perhaps I should go alone. I think I could change the activity program if I did. Very short story there, but I'll just I'll just give you some thoughts on this. So I have a girlfriend here in Thailand. I've been with her for 3 years. I'm 65. She's 47 now. So there's an 18-year difference. She works in a hospital, soon to retire because we're moving down to Hua Hin. But one thing I've noticed with her, whenever we meet up with friends here in Bangkok for a dinner or lunch, normally it's another guy, either Australian, American, wherever, and he's with his Thai girlfriend. The two Thai girls are meeting for the first time, and within half an hour, if we move on to a bar or something, they're walking down the street arm in arm, and as if they're great friends and they've known each other since school days. That's just how it is with the Thai women, especially. They're very quick to form a group, form friendships, and they get very, very close very, very quickly. And I actually like this about Thai women. So when you go out as a foursome, it's nice to go out, with a friend and two Thai women, have a nice relaxed meal with a few beers and stuff. And it's very nice. Normally, me and the guys speaking English, they're speaking Thai, and it's nice to look over and see they're actually having a good time. They're not tagging along with us, because that's something we want to do. Okay. As always, guys, if you're sitting on a story, I'd love to read it out here on the channel. Don't worry about somebody knowing you. I'll change the names, make it anonymous as always. I hope you enjoyed these stories this week. Only a couple more weeks here for me now in Bangkok before I move down to Hua Hin full time, and I'll be telling stories from down there, hopefully new ones. Until next week, again, I hope you enjoyed these stories. I'll catch up with you soon with some more stories. Until then, thanks for listening to me again, and have a good week, whatever you're doing.